Sending over 1 million emails a month for one company with one offer is an exciting opportunity, but it comes with many bottlenecks that need to be overcome. Just like literally scaling anything to any level, there's lots of factors that come into consideration and lots of things that happen which you didn't necessarily predict were going to happen. In this video, I'm going to break down the bottlenecks that we are currently running into as we scale a client to 1 million emails a month. I just want you to imagine that you need to cross a stream, but for some obscure reason, you don't want to get your shoes wet in any way, and you happen to have a big pile of rocks next to you. The way that you would cross the stream is you're going to pick up a rock, you're going to place it down, you're going to go back, you're going to pick up another rock, you're going to go stand on the first one and place it down. You're then going to go pick up another rock, go rock 1, rock 2, place down your third one, right? You're going to build the bridge by standing on the last rock. And you're going to repeat this process until you have built a bridge that you can then cross. This is the reality of what you're doing when you're scaling outbound and probably scaling anything, is you are just taking the next step, seeing what problems arise, and then solving them, and then taking the next step from there. You need to take the step in order to see what the next problem is going to be. Daniel and I both like playing Age of Empires or Age of Mythology back in the day, and we often refer to this as the fog of war. And essentially what this means is that as you move forward, the map opens up further. And this is what we're seeing when it comes to scaling this particular campaign. So as we scale, there are problems that are arising that we hadn't encountered earlier because we've never done this sort of level of sending before. We are expecting them to come up, and we're just keeping our eyes and ears open and then dealing with them as they arise. Here are some of the bottlenecks that we have overcome so far, and you can take this information and use them for yourself when you look to scale up. Infrastructure to send volume at a cost-effective way. So until now, we're mostly using Hypertide, but it is too expensive essentially to scale this up. So we are testing something called Out Engine. You can create your own email inboxes for 5 cents each. We're doing this. So far it seems to be working, but I don't have enough data to say that this is super stable and this is going to last for a long time. So we still have some that we're using Hypertide because it's been stable for us so far. We just do Outlook Azure inboxes, which are cheaper. They're probably, from our testing, not as good as Google for this particular outbound system, but they're significantly cheaper. And so when factoring in costs, they provide a better ROI. Because essentially with this offer, we can target a really big TAM. So I don't care too much about burning the TAM. I care a lot more about the ROI. How much does it cost to get money in the account? And what sort of maths makes sense there. So we've tested Google, and while they're slightly better in terms of performance, it was not worth the cost trade-off. I believe the reply rate was like 15% better, which is like a noticeable difference, but not worth the extra cost. So scraping lists, having enough leads. You not only need a TAM that's big enough, you need to reliably pull and get coverage across the entire TAM. And like we've got somebody in our team that's full-time scraping lists, but this is a whole new challenge. And so we needed to hire another person to just focus on these lists. That's because the lists need to be enriched in a certain way in order to essentially flesh out these campaigns. What we ended up doing is just buying a list of 2.5 million, and then their time is spent enriching that list and getting into the campaigns. Because I also ran into this other bottleneck on Smart Lead. So using both Smart Lead and Instantly to do sending. And Smart Lead was limiting the amount of email accounts I could connect to a campaign to 500, which I didn't know was a thing. So there's a bit of a pain where we've got, let's say, 10,000 email accounts. So we actually need 20 campaigns with 500 in each. And so there's a bit of time that's spent enriching the lists and then splitting them up across these different email accounts. For high volume, you will likely need to reuse lists, and that's just part of the game. As I said, getting the list into the software, the lists need to be enriched and then split and uploaded into the campaigns. This is a full-time job, so we need to hire someone to do this. We use talent from the Philippines to do this and then train them on our process. So we pretty much have always hired, and I'm not saying it's like better or worse, but this is just how we have hired, is we don't go to like a placement agency. We will hire talent ourselves because we can train them on our exact process and they become integral parts of our team. We use this to find talent in the Philippines. We typically will do maybe 15 initial interviews, and then we'll do a few secondary interviews, and then we'll hire someone part-time and then move them into full-time. That's typical of our process. So it takes a little bit of time, but we've found that that has been successful for us. In terms of getting the leads into some software, I'm sure there can be some automations here, but like we haven't done enough repetitions in order to identify the best way to do this. I see this a lot, and I've also made this mistake more than 5 times, which is automating something before you fully understand what's happening. So your automation doesn't fully make sense. Or you automate something and then market conditions slightly change and you've spent money building out this automation where you don't actually use it. I like to keep things manual for as long as is reasonable, and then you can start to automate little parts of it to make it more effective instead of just trying to automate the whole thing straight away. The next thing I'll talk about is inbox management. We have built an automation here to deal with the the initial positive response. And just to show you what that roughly looks like. So we get a webhook. We essentially say, is this a new lead? E.g., is this their first response to the campaign? If it is, we use OpenAI to check if it's positive. If it's positive, we craft a response, and we've got a pretty templated response, which makes it super handy. And then we just need to make sure that it's in the right sort of formatting, and then we automatically send it and update the tag to say first response has been dealt with. We've tried to do this for like our whole inbox before, and it didn't really work because there's such variety. Because let's say we had like 40 different clients. We're trying to have like one automation to deal with all of them. Very difficult. With this, it was way easier because it's just one client with one offer. And so there's maybe like 7 different responses that they can kind of come back with, and this deals with them. This has been done as the first order. Then we've got someone full-time handling the inbox on top of this to make sure that the responses are being dealt with in an adequate way and it's getting moved down the sales pipeline. And we are yet to do it. We need to build subsequences to handle follow-up. That'll be a job for this week, hopefully. And then we also need to build a CRM to manage deal flow. So in this case, the client has built the CRM, which is super helpful, and it's an Airtable, but this is definitely required once we start scaling to these sorts of numbers. Also tracking. So at this scale, we need to build a custom tracking dashboard for multiple reasons. Mess ups and burnt infrastructure are expensive and cost margin, quite a lot of margin at the scale. And also we've got a team hired to deal with it. So if there's downtime, what are they going to do? So we have to pay them. We've partnered with the business on a profit share model. We're deep in the weeds with solving everything with them, which is exciting and fun, I would say. But we need to tightly track costs as well as revenue, sales pipeline, and infrastructure. We're not just tracking like burnt infrastructure. We're tracking like industries to deals closed to profit. So we're tracking everything. And again, I'm yet to build this out. Currently, we're just tracking infrastructure, but I need to build it out properly. And again, it's going to be tied in with the CRM. Everything's going to start to come together. But as I said earlier, it's just the fog of war. We're just placing one step at a time. We're not at 1 million sends yet. We're at maybe 400K, but we should get to 1 million sends in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm just putting all these pieces into play. So it's pretty exciting, and hopefully you can learn from what I'm learning, essentially. If you're looking to scale your cold email infrastructure further, maybe to 1 million sends a month because you've already found some sort of offer market fit and you want to scale it, essentially, you can book in a call with somebody in my team below. If you want to dive deeper down the rabbit hole and solve this for yourself, there should be a longer video on screen now. I'll see you there. Peace.